kindly to my dear colleague from Wyoming, Senator John Barrasso. And thank you, committee, for allowing me to introduce to you my friend and former colleague, Steve Pearce, as nominee for Director of the Bureau of Land Management. And I'll tell you absolutely, without a doubt, there is just no better person for this job than Steve Pearce. Steve and I served together in the United States House of Representatives. We worked side by side on natural resource issues that are vital to our western states. And I got to see firsthand how he operates. He fights for his constituents. He listens to his constituents. He's one of those rare Republicans who served in a bright blue state. And the way he got elected was by constantly going and listening to his constituents, not just showing up during election years, but showing up every weekend for family events in the communities that he represented. And it was such a unique way that he had secret sauce in his district that it was even featured in the Wall Street Journal, how he got elected. He is very attuned to the people he represents. He fights for his constituents. When New Mexicans needed people in their corner, he showed up every time. So after decades of serving the people in New Mexico, Steve came away from this town with an understanding that a lot of people lack, and that's how the decisions that are made here work on the ground, how they land in ranching communities, energy-producing counties, tribal nations, and rural economies. He doesn't see the Bureau of Land Management as a line item in the federal budget. He sees it as boots on the ground in communities that depend on how their land is managed. You know, over time, it's getting to be that fewer and fewer people even know what BLM stands for. One night I was watching TV and they said, okay, our next guest is the head of the BLM. And I thought, oh my gosh, we're making news. Little did I know that the next person to be on the screen was the head of Black Lives Matter. And I never thought about them as acronyms that represented such different things to such a different audience. And that's why it's so important to have someone at the helm at the BLM who really understands the boots on the ground, the difference between BLM land and National Park Service land and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service lands. Very different purposes for our wilderness areas than our BLM land. Very different applications of things like FLTMA that passed in the mid-'70s. And right now, you're facing a nominee who understands those differences and is truly capable of implementing the law the way it was designed. And while Steve Pearce is a fighter, I can also tell you he's genuinely kind and thoughtful. We used to sit next to each other on the floor of the House. We both have a love of the Taos Society of Artists. And one day I looked over and he was flipping through the artists that he and I both love and share and collect. And it became one of those wonderful relationships you have with another member who has an interest outside of the immediacy of what we deal with. It was such fun because so many of the things depicted by those artists are the land, the scenery, the sky, the water, the air that is subsumed on our BLM lands. So we've shared many memories in our time in the House. I love his dry sense of humor. It gives a lighter air to the contention of our jobs. And when things got tough, he keeps showing up. He doesn't turn away from those uncomfortable dialogues. He keeps listening. And he found ways to work across the aisle to get things done. That's exactly the kind of leadership BLM needs. Steve holds a core belief I share. The people who live and work on our western lands know better than the people here in Washington what they need and how they can how we can be good stewards of those lands. He believes strongly in respecting states and listening to local expertise. He knows that Washington should partner with, not dictate to Western communities. He knows responsible economic development can transform communities and lift families while preserving these magnificent landscapes that we represent. You know, there's just no one better to head the Bureau of Land Management. Steve Pearce has the experience, the vision, the tenacity, and the heart. This is a man with heart to do this job well. So I strongly support his nomination, and I urge my colleagues to confirm him. Mr. Chairman, thank you so much.